So let's get started, right? So I think we all are trying to move, most of you are trying to move in this cloud domain and space, right? And we are trying to move into GCP. So the very first thing we might ask that there are so many clouds or public cloud in the market, right? So why only we need to go to GCP, right? So before I go over there, right, let's understand a bit of what is cloud and what is a bit of GCP, and then we will try to answer your that question, right? If that is coming to your mind, that there might be two questions that's coming to your mind. One, that which cloud should I learn? Second, is why to learn GCP only, right? So these are the two aspects maybe that's coming to your mind. If not, then that's again very good. If that is not coming to your mind, then that's a very good point, right? Because we need to learn everything mostly, but starting off somewhere is very important, right? So I guess my screen is visible. So we have a quick PPT. So I'll run you through to two parts. So we have two different sort of courses running over here. One is a GCP admin, which will mostly focus on the entire GCP cloud platform, and it will help you to either attain the GCP certifications known as GCP Cloud Engineer, which is more of the GCP administration sort of work. Means you creating the infrastructure and then maintaining it. And also you can target the architect certification, right? This is part one. We have another sort of course running over there known as the GCP DevOps. So that would be a mixed sort of course where you also learn GCP uh, to the beginner level, and also the other DevOps tools that are mostly trending in the market, be it the Kubernetes, the Docker, the Ansible, the Terraform, as well as GCP DevOps, be it with Cloud Builder uh, and also Jenkins, right? So we have two aspects. So let me start first with the GCP admin related course that we have, right? And what we will be helping you to teach and learn in this course, right? Before moving on, so what is GCP? GCP stands for Google Cloud Platform, and it is one of the most dominant cloud in the market right now that is getting utilized and solving most of our use cases, right? So before we move also to the GCP and what is GCP, what are its components? So what would be our basic role if we learn or come to this cloud aspect, right? I see most of you have an aspiration to switch domains, right? We were working in some domain and want to now come to the cloud and DevOps domain, right? So what would you would be able to do? You would basically, if you are learning GCP, you would be called a GCP cloud engineer, right? Where your main task would be the functioning of the cloud computing side, looking into the cloud security, as well as end of the day, we have to automate the entire infrastructure, right? So these would be a key responsibilities if you are trying to switch to cloud or DevOps, right? And in the modern era or in the next 5 years, cloud and DevOps is a hand in glove, right? So you have to learn both the aspects of it. Gone are the days where you could have used DevOps on bare metal servers or normal servers. Those days are we are going away with it, and we are now switching all our load or infrastructure related components to cloud, right? So that is why I say DevOps tools as well as cloud now go hand in hand. And if you are trying to imagine yourself in the next 10 years, you want to build your profile on DevOps as well as so on DevOps. So I would say it's not now DevOps, it's also DevOps and cloud, right? So you have to create that path for yourself so that you can play as well as learn as well as grow in this domain for next 10, 15 years. That should be our end goal, right? It's not that We learn something, work for there 1 or 2 years, and then suddenly everything changes and we might land in some a place where we don't want to be, right? That should not be our goal, right? So these are the major roles that you will be playing in once you are familiar with the GCP cloud. So then moving on, what are the major components of GCP and what do you get? Right, the very first thing is you get cloud computing. You also get data centers, and you also get a very good interactive GUI known as the cloud console. Right. So what is cloud computing? It will help you to grow your business very pragmatically, I would say, and cost efficient, cost efficient way. Right. What do I mean by that is, let's say you have a requirement of running a load or running some application. Let me give you a very good example. You want to run a Netflix application, the Netflix application that we see in our mobiles or in our free time, right? That application is running in some environment, correct? Or maybe to be very precise, on some servers or some data centers. So in the previous era when cloud was not there, what it happened was there was few persons in the Netflix team who used to go out in the market, buy some physical servers based on what is the load that they will be expecting. Let's say they are expecting a user load of 100 users, so maybe they buy 10 servers and they host their application. Now that infrastructure looks good, but now we are moving to the end of December, right? And maybe more and more users are trying to use Netflix. So what can happen is their application would be at high risk and there is a chance of downtime because they had predicted a load of 100 users and they had given and hosted their application on 10 servers, right? Now, if the users on the cycle from 25th December to 1st January had increased, so it has gone from 100 users to now 200 users, but they are already running on 10 servers, right? Their capacity to hold the next 100 users is very difficult, right? So what they again thought is, okay, let us again buy 10 more servers, right? Fine, fair enough. They did that and they were able to sustain that load, right? Now that 25th December to 1st January cycle is over and again they are back to, let's say, 100 users, right? But they now have an infrastructure of 20 servers for that earlier capacity of 100 users. Now what they will do with those 10 servers at the extra provision, right? Either they have to sell it somewhere, but selling is again, you have to do it at a loss, or those servers will be much redundant and they won't meet much of use, right? So this is where cloud plays a very important role, right? Then what they tell you is, hey, I can give you the infrastructure with your one click. And also when you don't require it, you just go out and leave that part, right? And you don't have to pay for it. So end of the day, we all are happy, right? The mechanism how it works is you are renting something, and when you're done with your work, you can leave that rent out, right? And you will not be again charged for it. So the projects become more and more profitable right now, and the efficiency of those servers and those infrastructures increases more and more, right? There's 99.99% of efficiency that those cloud computing servers or infrastructure they do give you because the maintenance and the availability of those infrastructure is not maintained by you. It is maintained by this bigger giants, right? And you know how big Google is and how good is their infrastructure, right? So in that way, we both win, right? We are trying to we get a highly efficient infrastructure as well as we also get profitable because we are not getting charged for something which we are never using, right? Uh, so this is what is basically we will learn more and more how these things are achieved and by how we can also create a efficient uh, cloud infrastructure out there, right? This is the main motive of the would be of the course. Right, so this is the other aspects are hosting the data centers. So again, the data centers will be maintained by GCP, and to interact with the GCP cloud, you'll have a very interactive cloud console, right? So moving on, a bit of overview of what are the aspects that GCP covers. So GCP covers the compute, be it on the servers, load balancers, and it also covers storage. There are multiple kinds of storage, be it the static object storage on in terms of cloud storage, which are the buckets or maybe the databases. Then we have relational database, NoSQL database, analytical database, which falls under Cloud Spanner, Cloud SQL. We'll look into that. Then there is networking and security because the backbone of every infrastructure, you have to provision a network and also you have to protect it. We'll also learn that. And there's another aspect to it known as the data engineering or big data and analytics, which covers the BigQuery, data flow, and data flow, right? Next, there are a few key components that are there or that is widely used now in the market. One of the pre important and one of the most jargon tool out there now is the Kubernetes engine. So GCP hosts its own engine known as the GKE, Google Kubernetes Engine. It has cloud functions. It's basically a serverless platform which will help you to run your code at very simple two steps. So you don't require an entire infrastructure to run your application. So these are known as cloud functions. There is also a new support of AI platform where the machine learning models can be built and you can have the AI problem solved. And there is also IoT, right? The hand watches that we now use, the digital and IoT watches, all those can be synced with the GCP cloud platform, and you can monitor and also analyze your data for these ads that you see right now in most of the social media sites that you use. How is that working? This is mostly those tools are integrated with your Google Cloud platforms, and I would say Google Cloud, not platform, but there are again some tools, the IoT core. There is a cloud IoT feature out there that gets integrated and your entire data is monitored and there are some analytical uh, queries that are run on that, and based on that results your ads are getting shown or whatever the new age marketing that is getting done, right? Those aspects are getting covered out there, right? So we had already looked into the architectural side. So we basically define it into three layers. The foundation layer, which covers the computing layer, the storage layer. Next comes the security layer, where we will cover the networking as well as the security aspects of how to again protect that resources that we have created. Now, because most of you I hear have a background of IT, right? And you know how much secured your infrastructure has to be to protect from those malicious attacks out there, right? And we also had examples of companies losing dollars on just protecting their application, and sometimes their data also got compromised, right? So we need to also protect our data, only not building the data and keeping the security tight is also one of the key aspects, and GCP has a very good framework to do that. And the third layer would be your application development layer, where we will use either the GKE or the Google App Engine or the Cloud Run on these aspects, right? So this the before slide I was talking on a very high 10,000 feet level, but on the next it is just naming few services that are part of those uh, layers that we had talked about, right? The compute holds the GKE, compute engine, and app engine. The storage holds we had already not discussed, but I would say I would already covered a bit of cloud storage, which is object storage, right? And we cloud SQL, which is a relational database, and Cloud Spanner. It is a global relational database. So we'll understand what are these, how to work with this, how to create all of these, right? And then the networking aspects, the cloud VPN, the firewalls, the IAMs, right? Fair enough. Now, why do we now learn GCP and not other cloud providers, right? So we call it GCP is one of the best in cloud provider, and we have sustainable answer also to support that, right? What are those? The very first reason why we need to move our, why also teams or projects are moving their workloads from some other cloud to GCP is for their flexible pricing models, right? So GCP gives you a very good pricing model because if you commit them on some load that you will be running for 1 or 3 years, you get very good prices from them. Also, for the resources that you will be utilizing, it's very competitive, right? So it saves a lot of cost for the projects that are will be utilizing this over the other clouds. That is one. Second is we have very good use cases that's getting solved by the GCP. So it is very innovative, one of the innovative and fastest growing cloud platform. The other two aspects are scalability and exceptional customer support, right? Fine. Then let's look at a bit of the pricing, how we get that, right, and compare it with most of other platforms. When I say that it gives you a very competitive price, so you can look over here on the prices that are there for one individual machines. If you go on the AWS platform, how much it will get, you will get charged, how much is GCP charging you on most of your resources. And while learning the GCP and also architecting that, we will also, it's not only you provision something as a cloud engineer, you also have to give logical reasoning of the cost that will get incurred, right? And whether you require that resource or you have to go away with that resource or spin up something else that can also solve that problem at a lower cost, right? I might have a problem scenario that I want to run the Netflix application on 100 resources or 100 servers, as I've given you one quick example, right? But we have to then do a cost analogy, right? Do I need 100 servers again to run that? Can I again do some fixes that will again improve that cost that will get incurred for that 100 servers? So we as cloud engineers also put our brains into it and figure out a very good architectural figure or a diagram, right? That is also one of the key aspects that we will be learning, and also that you have to perform in real time when you work in real time cloud projects, right? Yep. So these are the pricing models that GCP provides is the sustained discounts, as I was telling you. If you commit GCP of using their resources for a longer time, it will give you a 30% direct discount on the cost, right? That is has for its resources. There's also committed discounts that if your organization has committed to use GCP for next 3 years to 5 years, again you get a discounts for each resource up to 57%. So that's a huge save of cost that your projects or their organization will having, and it helps the lower age startups to move from their losses to profit revenues, right? So this is a very good aspect, and why people are now taking in more and more or adapting to GCP cloud is these are the main reasons, right? And if you look at the trend now, this is the trend of how GCP is taking up the market share, right? It started in 17, and this is 20 quarter for 2022 data, and we'll have the 2023 data also coming up in next 3 months maybe. And as I was also looking through that graph, that had to also took a very sharp rise, right? So what is now happening in the market is basically it's the other cloud providers are going down or losing their market share, and GCP is taking up its space due to its wide variety of use cases, right? And this is the correct time for us engineers who are trying to move to the cloud domain to learn this aspect, because this is one of the fastest growing cloud right now, and the demand and supply of this for this cloud is very low. There are a lot of demand in the market for engineers who can work with this cloud, but the supply or the people knowing this cloud is very, very low, right? So that is the gap that the market is trying to breach, and it's the best time for you, the engineers also to take up this skill, learn this skill, and move into this technology. Right. I can also share with you few case studies that GCP is now presently working on. There's a AI project known as the Google Brain project, which works on image recognition. There are the video games known as Stadia, which is working are utilizing GCP. There are other very renowned organizations known as NASA, Twitter, or the New York Times are storing their entire data on GCP cloud storage buckets, right? There are also a few other case studies that GCP is very successful on, with the Coca-Cola, where it solved their problem and reduced their cost up to 25% of the real-time usage. We have the Colgate Palmolive, the Colgate that we use, right? So they had used analytical use cases into GCP on running on BigQuery and storing their data on cloud storage, and was able to reduce their cost by 60%, right? You can just think of reducing their cost from 60% is so much of revenue that they have to explore new opportunities, right? And put one part of those costs saved into invention, right? And creating more and more success stories out there, right? So this is the power that this cloud platform is giving you. And also the one of the famous softwares that we now use is Spotify, right? And how it has helped uh, Spotify to solve again their problems, right? They were facing problems on, first was on latency. What do I mean by latency is, let's say if from 100 users, 200 users started to use Spotify, the songs was getting slower, it was getting broken in between, and there was a lot of lags in their software, right? So they again they were previously learning hosting their application on AWS, and then they migrated it to GCP, and then again they could save more and more of cost. uh, Cost reduction was 30%. Maybe I would also suggest you to read this blog, right? There's a very good blog out there on Spotify, how GCP has changed their market, right? So this is mostly on the successful use cases that GCP is offering, and we cloud engineers can also learn and work in our day-to-day aspect, right? So I would take a pause over here a bit and take in questions. If something is coming to your mind, and then I can move on the second aspects on GCP DevOps and just go through. That's mostly learning a bit of GCP as well as learning most of the DevOps tools out in the market, right? So I'll run you through that syllabus a bit, right? So any doubts or any questions that's coming to your mind, you can ask.
Yeah, Akash Gopal here. Just to understand, I mean, what aspects we are going to cover if you bring that, course content for the GCP admin stuff, and what are the things we are going to cover? It would be really nice.
Sure, fair enough. So let me pull up that. I
Thank you.
have the syllabus. One second. Let me know if my screen is visible. Yep. So this is the syllabus that we had designed and we have been for GCP admin. And so I'll run you through it. What are the things that we are covering mostly? So this is basically designed in a way that is followed by Google itself to host its certification of a GCP Cloud Engineer. That's the intermediate certification that GCP provides. So the course is most aligned to that. So if I go down to the syllabus, so first we would be learning into how to set up the environment, and then we would be looking into the API side, the IAMs, roles, there are aspects of projects, organization. We'll look into that. Then we will look into the billing aspects of the budget and how we can set up our budgets and alerts. Then also on the CLI side, how to install that. Then as I was saying, the model two will be mostly on planning and configuring a cloud solution, right? We design a cloud architecture, and then we will also plan that whether that is a suitable approach to take for our use cases or not. So we have multiple components to learn over there, be it the compute engine, the GKE, the cloud run, cloud functions. We'll also look into the preemptive, what is preemptible VMs, when to use it, why to use it, and also build our own custom machines, right? And also the second part to that is looking into the storage side of it, be it the cloud SQL. These are the databases that are there. And also on the physical, or I will not say physical, or the data storage might be the zonal disk or regional disk, how to spin those up, how to attach them to a VM, and all of those aspects, right? The model 3 will be on deploying side, right? Model 4 will be mostly on the operations, because once we also have set up our infrastructure, we also have to need to manage those infrastructures, right? So how can we have a highly secured and highly available infrastructure? We'll utilize most GCP tools to solve those problems, and then looking into the GKE side of it, right? Yep. Yeah, and I think the final aspect would be configuring the access using IAM and also protecting those using the cloud security. Yeah, so these are the major things that we would be covering. And you can also get these syllabus from the Visualpath admin team. So mostly we focus on 30% of the theory and 70% of hands-on. And during the course, I'll help you to set up your own GCP accounts, free accounts mostly, wherein when I am doing the demos or I give you the tasks so that you can also do your own hands-on and practice all of those aspects. Yep. Does that answer your question, Gopal? No? Fair enough. Any other questions?
Thank you. So in you mentioned about the installation of using the CLA and all. So are we also covering this installation on the various applications on the servers, various VMs?
Yep. So VMs, we will spin up our when we learn first, we will learn what is GCP VM aspects of it. Then we will spin up our VMs, right? And then yeah, correspondingly we'll connect to them. We'll connect our volumes to that when I talked about persistent disk.
The reason
Those are
behind
first.
I'm asking this question because lot of VMs we are actually installing Puppet and all those applications on that. So just to understand, are we also covering this aspect?
Installing Puppet inside a VM or Ansible inside a VM? Is that the question?
No, installation of Puppet inside a VM.
That would, I would say that we are not going into those things. That would be a
Yeah.
very generic
Yeah.
use case, right? That is a
Yeah.
very generic use case. But yes,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
have, let's see, I can give you a thing is, let's see, we have learned VM. We know how to spin up a VM, how to connect and how to work with those. And then maybe you are, because you'll also practice, right? You're from your side. If you're facing difficulties, then we can discuss those in our classes and try to solve those,
Of
right?
course. Of course. Thank you. Thank
Those are custom
you.
requirements, right?
Yeah, I mean, understand. I mean, I'm not talking about only that particular applications, but altogether a concept behind it. I was talking.
Yeah,
But anyhow,
maybe
I mean,
yes.
this is yeah. Thank you. Thanks.
Yep. No, sure. Any other questions, Rohan or RK, that's coming to your mind, or any other questions you can ask?
So this module 5 is actually containing the IAM policies, right?
Uh, yep. It's IAM. Firstly, yes. Mostly IAM and how to secure it. Your users with IAM, right? We have service accounts. We have roles. Mostly on that. Okay. So if there is no other question, maybe there's also. Are you all? Means first things is, are you guys looking for the GCP admin side of courses, or are you also trying to figure out whether you should go for GCP DevOps? Then I can just give you a quick high level of what we are also covering there. It's a
Akash,
question
Akash,
for.
Akash, one question. Can you please give us what is difference between DevOps and the GCP admin? Just sorry, sorry, a raw question. My question might be a wrong, but
No, no, your
can you please?
question is, I think it's because you're the jargons. The jargons can be a bit different. So quick first one liner is GCP admin is mostly for GCP related administration task, right? That a GCP cloud engineer would perform in his day-to-day life, right? So it will be mostly centric to GCP, just like AWS administrator or Azure administrator. This is like just like a GCP administrator, right? So most of your tasks that a GCP or a Google Cloud engineer does, we will learn that. What GCP DevOps is basically, it's a combination of the DevOps tools, right? If you just look at the syllabus, right? It's a combination, I would say, of GCP to some extent, that people who know GCP a bit and they also want to learn DevOps, right? So it's a combination of both, right? If I go through the syllabus a bit, I think it will solve most of your doubts. So in the second course that we are saying is it's a GCP DevOps. So what we will learn over here is, let me pull up the PPT. That will give you a very good into it. One sec. If I guess my screen. Let me go down. Let's discuss on this. Yep. So what I mean by GCP DevOps is it's a combination of multiple DevOps tools that are there in the market. For repository, we learn Git and GitHub. For CI/CD, we will learn our orchestration tool. We learn Jenkins. Then we will learn for configuration management, Ansible. For infrastructure management, Terraform. And then we will learn Docker and Kubernetes, right? And all of these automations or all of these use cases will be mainly done on the GCP cloud. We will utilize GCP cloud to an extent to maybe for automating and resource in the cloud. We will be doing via Terraform. Let's say I want to spin a VM, right? How can I do that with Terraform on GCP, right? If I want to configure a GCP VM using Ansible. How can I do that? When we learn Kubernetes, we will spin up our own GKE machines and understand all the concepts of Kubernetes, right? This is the major difference between the two courses, right? I hope does that answer your question? Hello. Okay, Rohan.
Yes, yes,
Thanks.
Akash. Thank you.
Yep, yep.
Akash, one thing, oh, like
Hmm.
in our organization, we see this AWS and Azure only. GCP is very less. Even if I find the project is hardly a one or two only for a big organization where I am working. So what is scope now? It is easy to switch like from AWS to cloud for a existing customer.
If I get your question correctly, is it based on your aspect you're asking or the organization
Yes, yes,
aspect
my
you're
aspect only. Suppose my customer is on AWS, okay.
asking?
Uh, if like you are telling like Google is little bit cheap, okay. Suppose then how can we pitch our customer like if you like move from AWS to Google, or it is very easy to do that, migrate?
Yes, because now Google has a lot of use cases or open communities resources. So first, I would say it is not very because moving from one platform to another is a bit tricky, right? But if you do your planning and architecture good in a good way, it is not much complex, right? It is mostly easy. Means if I rate that level from a value of 10, I would rate it on 6. But yeah, that is
because
that is how
because
I can
that's
tell
a
you.
that's a question in mind. Suppose if someone is running on AWS, then
Hmm.
how can he can move to another cloud services? If it is not moving, then how our share will be increased? You got my point.
I got your point. So moving is not difficult. Yes, moving is never difficult. It's only we have to have the confidence to and the bandwidth of our team to switch that traffic. Moving is very easy. So only what you have in EC2, sorry, what you have in AWS as EC2 is just a VM naming convention in GCP, right? But the end logic of how those two functions are more or less similar, right? I can give you a very good use case that I faced and how we transitioned for one of our customer that I've been working into.
Okay.
Maybe do you know gRPC connections a bit? Okay. If not, so what we gRPC is a modern HTTP 2 protocol, okay? So we were running our workload on Azure. So Azure does not support gRPC communications. If you're coming from outside environment and hitting any Azure resource, be it the front door or be it any load balancers, just take it in that way, right? So what we had to do is we had to get our own customs proxies out there to support that use case, and it was making our infrastructure more complex as well as more costlier, right? Because we were not able to sustain that because Azure only supports HTTP or HTTPS, which the port communication is on port of either you need to hit the Azure resources either on port 80 or port 443, but we were trying to use gRPC, which uses HTTP 2 protocol, and that was not getting supported. But what Azure was telling us is once you come inside, right, using some custom integrations, I can support your gRPC inside internally, but I do not support it externally. So and Azure also do not. We had not seen. We were communicating with Azure for 6 months, but they do not have that new feature also coming up in the pipeline upcoming 4 months. So then when we had to take a pivot, right, either go to AWS or go to GCP, right? And then we analyzed the cost aspects and all the functionality wise. And then we had got very good use cases where people had done this and the community was so elaborative. So then we took that pivot, right? And our migration, I would say, was very easier because we did not move all at a time. Right? We had moved into parts. We could solve many of our problems that we were facing in Azure. And also cost wise, it gave us It saved us a lot of cost, I would say. So yeah, only is the willpower and the determination that we need to have, and the confidence of our customers, and that's it.
Okay.
But I would say it's a very fast growing market, right? And the demand is very high right now because when something is new in the market, people explore that, right? And so, but the supply side, as we engineers, you don't will find much knowing that technology, right?
Yeah,
That's I think.
that's the reason I was asking. If if it is growing, then definitely we have an opportunity more.
Yes, it's definitely growing and growing very fast, I would say. Let's see if I get the latest, the graph I was showing you, right? That GCP is taking up the
Yeah, yeah.
market share. One sec. I, I was looking into the 2023 data. Let me just see if I find that for you quickly. Not saved it, but yes, as I was telling you, it's growing very fast. I guess I got it. I can give you a few relevant.
No, no problem. We trust you, Akash.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in fact, you also Google it out, you will get that data out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, no
So,
problem.
yep. Yeah. Any other questions? Any other questions that's coming to anyone's mind? Just feel free to ask.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Akash. This is Rekha. Good morning. I
Hi,
joined a
Rekha.
bit late. I logged in, but I joined a bit late. So I just want to
Uh-huh.
have ask a question. We have like development and admin side, right? So when coming to the opportunities wise and in the future growth, which is a fast growing like opportunities and also skill set, we need to improve, right? As a develop in if we are in development, we need to learn and update ourselves daily. So in that aspect, like which would be the better one, either GCP development side or admin?
Okay, so first let me have your thought on what do you mean by GCP development and GCP admin?
Me,
Sorry.
like in the sense like I got some calls. That is the reason. So they were
Mm-hmm.
asking like GCP with respect to Java or the other skill set like subqueries, Cloud Sub, another BigQuery, and a mix of either .NET, Java, or a bit of ETL side.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you must be from a developer background, is it?
Yes. Yes. Of course. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, so again, as I was saying, there are two aspects of how do you want to take it. So first, see, there are two aspects again I can answer your questions. First is you have to know that tool, right? Then only as we are moving from, I would say not moving, we are integrating most of our use cases with the cloud resources, right? Maybe cloud
Okay.
functions, maybe cloud run, maybe GKE. And how the trend is moving is most of us has to be uh, swimming in both the points. If I am a DevOps engineer, I should know how to write a test use case,
Mm.
at least how to run those APIs, how those API logics works. I need to know, right? If I'm coming from your side, now what industry is expecting you before you at least try to integrate or do some workings, let's say on air on cloud side. First thing is you need to know that infrastructure, right? Because let's say your team does not have any DevOps engineers in the product based companies. There's no sort of DevOps engineers or developers in that aspect. The person who is developing is responsible only to push their code into create their own pipelines, use the cloud infrastructure by themselves, set up their own infrastructure, and then do whatever task that they want to perform, right? So that is the end mindset that projects our industry will move into, right? There will be no separation between people out there who can do what task. So now coming to your answer is before you know or how to run a BigQuery, right, or whichever pub sub which you mentioned, right, you need to know how a pub sub is functioning. If given a task to you, hey, first you need to spin up a pub sub, right, and then only you can work in it. So there comes the first aspects. First is you need to understand the platform, work with it, manage it, right? That then only you will have a very good grasp of it. And then comes the utility part, right? Is where the developers and all they write their own codes, try to integrate with them and solve the use cases, right? So I would say be it on any side, you first need to understand the infrastructure, and then would be the development side of it. And opportunity wise, you can move into both the directions, right? If someone is expecting from you to know something on infrastructure, you can answer that. If someone is also expecting what you can do once I give you the infrastructure, you can also answer that, right? Does that answer your question?
But in the long perspective, which would be better?
In the long prospect, which would be better in terms of?
Opportunities.
Okay, so it's a very, I would say, we cannot have one answer to that, right? If each and every one of us have our own different goals, right? And I cannot say you that you learn GCP admin and that is the end of your learning scope and you will get
Mm.
a very high paying job in n number of days. That is not how it works in this industry, right? And you also know, even
Yeah, yeah.
today, I also learn each technology, whatever is coming and what suits the market,
Mhm.
right? And I think that should also be our way of learning, right? That
Yeah, yeah.
we should all keep developing. Okay, you know GCP admin, fair enough. Now, if someone is asking you, can you architect for me a solution, right? Can you do that? Then you have to again learn and understand, okay, how does the architecture or there are certain aspects to it, right? The GCP
Okay.
architectural solutions. Now someone is again coming and telling you, okay, now I made you an architect. Can you also protect my applications, right? Then comes the security aspects, right? So learning never stops. I won't say, or I would never suggest that you learn one single course or one single tool and you're done with it. That cannot be our philosophy. Then we are not, I wouldn't think, I would say we are not in the correct mindset. We should keep on learning. That
Yes,
would be a
yes.
very fair answer to this.
Yeah, yeah. So here in this course, you will be covering all the GCP services like
Yes, mostly all. Mostly all. But we will not cover AI and all. But we will align,
Mhm.
as I already told you, we are mostly aligned with the GCP Cloud Engineer or GCP Administration. There's an intermediate certification provided by
Mm.
GCP. So we have our syllabus mostly aligned to that because we need to have a path, right? We cannot take everything into one, and that does not
Yeah,
also
yeah.
make that
Understood.
course
Yeah.
or that teaching right? So we need to
Yeah.
set up a parameter path. So we had taken the GCP's cloud engineer. That's an intermediate certification. So we will touch base with their syllabus and we'll follow that. Yeah.
Uh, Akash, can we have a course brochure in the chat, please? You'd be sharing?
Maybe I cannot attach that because that option is not there. This brochure is already shared with the team. You can reach out to the Visualpath admin team and they can share it, the entire
Okay.
brochure with you.
Okay, Akash. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.